The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to An Open Door on the Arts. My name is Barbara Richer, and I will be your host as we travel throughout the Capital Region, discovering the amazing wealth of artists that can enrich our life on a daily basis. We would never have to leave Albany, New York, almost. It's quite wonderful to be with you. Today we're going to travel up I-90 a little ways towards Boston. We're going to get off in the beautiful rolling hills of Columbia County, just around Chatham and Ghent in that area. And you may ask, well, what could possibly be up there? And I will tell you that I did not know this place existed and was blown away by the beauty of it and the fact that it's been there since 1992. We're going to get off I-90 at the little hamlet of OMI, O-M-I. And we're going to turn into the drive of the OMI International Arts Center. Yes, the real International Arts Center right here. And it's quite astonishing with sculpture all over acres and acres. And my special guest today is Akemi Hiatt, a beautiful name, Akemi Hiatt. She's the
I'm the Communications Manager.
The Communications Manager of OMI, and she'll be sharing some of the history with us first. So welcome to the show, Akemi. I'm so glad I found you.
Thank you, Barbara. It's really nice to be here with you, and I'm so glad that you came and approached us.
Well, it turned out to be quite an amazing find. I had no idea there was an International Arts Center there, and such an accomplished one is quite amazing. Maybe you could give us just a little background on how it came to be and what these beautiful hills were at one time.
Sure. OMI International Arts Center, it was founded in 1992 by Francis J. Greenberger, who was a art collector, art philanthropist, advocate for the arts, and he has a company in New York City called Time Equities, Inc., a real estate company. He saw the need for a new type of residency program, one that is open to artists from all over the world. And on a trip upstate where he has a house, he saw a former dairy barn, which he had purchased. It had a barn and it had a farmhouse on it, and 120 acres of that is now the Field Sculpture Park. So this is
so amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And I've had the privilege of sort of talking to some people who were there at the beginning. And the one thing that they always talk about is how kind of organic the process was. Now we have 4 distinct residency programs and 3 public programs, but in the beginning it was really an international artist residency. And the first year that they did it, it was the community endeavor. Everybody who came met the artists and helped them to realize their vision, however it was. So it was a lot of hands-on interaction, a lot of DIY stuff.
Now, were these very first group of artists, were they all the sculpture folks? Was that the primary push of this, or were these residencies in other areas of the arts?
It's any medium.
Okay.
So sculpture, painting, now we're seeing a lot more photography and new media and video, works on paper. It's never been limiting to what type of art you can create there.
But what the folks will see when they come there, what I first noticed when I came there, not knowing what the International Arts Center was actually going to be, were these rolling hills of Columbia County, but on them were astonishingly beautiful and interesting and challenging pieces of sculpture.
Yeah.
And large, very large sculpture. And How many pieces of sculpture now grace those? I think you call it the Fields Sculpture Park.
Yep, the Field Sculpture Park began in 1992, I believe, as well, and that was separate from the Residency. So that was a sort of a product of the landscape that the Residency was taking place in. And because of Francis's friendship with a gallerist named Andre Emmerich in the city, who was deaccessioning some of his large sculpture and didn't have a place to store it, we were able to open the sculpture park with a wonderful collection of modern and contemporary art. And now we have about 80 or so, give or take, throughout the year of large sculptures. And those get rotated throughout the year depending on shows that we are curating and bringing in. Our big annual show is opening next Saturday on June 13th. But also some of those are part of the original collection, and some of those are also on loan from galleries in the city or beyond or internationally.
Okay, so we have this all starting up in 1992, and if we can just stick with the Field Sculpture Park for a minute, they're on a rotating basis throughout all this acreage, and it's entirely free. I mean, it's open to the public.
Yep. It's really a resource for the public, and also even people who don't necessarily feel like they go to museums or they go to galleries. It's an outdoor environment that you can experience art on a large scale setting, and it's quite unique in that way. If any of you have ever been to Storm King, this is a very similar experience, but it's also somewhat of a more intimate one.
Yes, it is. Having been there and having been now at OMI, I happened to be there on a very lovely day when I first came to see you, and was able to walk through a good portion of the Fields of Sculpture, and it is enchanting. I mean, it's just amazing. You just go from one amazingly intricate piece to another, and it's hard to believe that this is completely free, that you invite people to bring a picnic if they'd like, bring their children if they'd like, bring their dog if they'd like, and just be surrounded by art. It's wonderful what you're doing out there just from that
Thank you.
aspect.
Yeah, thanks. And I also think that, we are open year round, so it's interesting to watch the sculptures change throughout the seasons, and we actually get quite a few visitors in the winter because we have cross-country skiing available.
I read that.
Yeah.
That's stunning to me.
It's one of the first times I did it was last winter, and it was just like such a different way of exploring skiing through this park.
Exactly. So literally anybody can come right up to the most athletic cross-country skier.
Yeah. Well, I had never even skied.
Or snowshoes.
I didn't know how to, but I figured it out.
Well, it's stunning.
Yeah.
All right. So now we that's how it opens with the Fields of Sculpture. And tell us about these residencies.
The Residencies there are 4 programs, and the Artist, as I mentioned earlier, is the newest one, so that was what kickstarted the whole center to begin with. That is about 30 visual artists from all over the world who come, and they're actually about to arrive very soon. They're here for 4 weeks in July. They are given time, space, meals, as well as a really unmatched sort of professional development opportunity where we bring in gallerists, curators, and critics from the New York City art world to meet with the artists and kind of critique their work or give them feedback on navigating, their professional life. And each year we also have 2 people in residence for the whole period of time that are critics and curators.
What astonishing, rich program for a beginning or interim or wherever you are in your art to be accepted to come in. I read that you have had upwards of 1,800 artists in this program from 120 different countries.
Yeah, yeah, and it's one of the more competitive ones and the most well known because of its earlier beginnings, and it can be quite competitive. So our founder likes to say that the acceptance rate to the Art OMI residency is higher than that of Harvard. But it is a great opportunity for everyone to come, and they also get a chance to meet other artists from all over the world and kind of understand that level of international exchange. So you can have an amazing diversity of people, not only across medium, but across geography and experiences, and in language even. So it's
How do you handle the language?
It's only really an issue for the people who consider it to be an issue, I think. Last summer, we had a man from Mongolia who really spoke very little English, but all that he really needed to make the residency useful for him was the time to create, and also the time and the headspace, not be concerned with daily things like caring for your family, going grocery
meals,
shopping,
all of that is just given to you right there. That's just stunning.
Yeah.
Now, after all of this amazing art is created, in and amongst all these people, what happens?
At the end, one of the things about our residency is that we don't ask the artists to come up with a finished product near the end, so to speak. We don't want to give them any pressure while they're here to create a final product, and we see this as a time for them to really make mistakes or explore or do things that they wouldn't otherwise have the latitude to do. But that said, there is one opportunity for the public to kind of see what has been worked on over those 4 weeks, and that comes at the end of the residency, July 11th and 12th. There's a weekend-long celebration for the artists in residence, and the culmination of that is called the Open Studios Day, where the studio that they've been working in, which is in that dairy barn that the program initially started in, is open to the public, and that's free, and everybody can come and sort of talk to them and see what they've done.
It's amazing that these marvelous opportunities are free.
Yeah, well, it's one of the original tenets of why OMI was founded, was that it would be a free sort of resource to art for the community. And because the residents are there and as sort of they're supported to be there, we want to share that with the community around us too.
Now, when we're talking about the residences, you will have this group, but they are in several different fields of art.
Yeah. Yes, the Art OMI residency is for visual artists, and that can include any type of medium that they're working in for visual art.
Okay.
The other residencies are for different forms of art, such as music, dance, or writing. So second, after the artists depart, we bring in our musicians, and those are both musicians and composers, and it's a smaller program, and the unique thing about that program is that it's collaborative. So we're also adding another element of exchange where the musicians are coming and they're creating new pieces, or they're workshopping things with people they may never have met before, and with genres of music they may never have otherwise used. So amazing things can come from that, really pushing the boundaries of what is their comfort zone, and giving up a certain level of control and collaboration in that process. And so what they come up with is really, really exciting. It usually ends up being sort of a improvisational orchestra of new music with a lot of global influences. Usually we have 2 performances throughout the course of the residency, one at an outside venue and one at OMI. And that is really interesting to watch. These people who, they're also not there for as long as the artists are. They're there for about 2.5 weeks. And the sort of process of seeing them get to know each other, be, sort of not, necessarily open to the collaboration, or some are, some aren't, but then to kind of create this new thing is really remarkable.
How spirited. It must be really spirited. You're just cultivating this. It's like an incubator for amazing, amazing art.
Yeah, and actually the director of the program is also a musician, and he has told me that even when the residents go back to their home countries. For example, there's one contingent in Europe, and they'll meet up regularly, perhaps every year or so when they can, to continue working together. So we try to stay in touch with them afterwards to see what sort of develops later on.
This is totally the ultimate part in partnering and partnerships, which the arts have needed to do and had to do for so long, just in order to continue to exist. But to really make those kind of connections and be able to stay with them is a blessing. That's very exciting. Okay.
And then the other residency is a dance residency, which is very similar in terms of the music one, and that also very collaborative. And what's interesting about the music and the dance programs is that they're both sort of fields where residencies are not really a part of the common, procedure of being an artist. Visual artists, there are many residencies for that. Music and dance have a little bit more of a sort of a lack of a model to fit into. So OMI has created these sort of collaborative programs to kind of, as you say, be an incubator for creativity and future projects. The dancers are a small and very close-knit group, and they
again,
have to
come
collaborate.
from all these different countries.
Yes, yep. And they kind of by necessity collaborate and are very, much in tune with other people and have to work together. And they have 3 separate performances, or we don't really call them performances because it connotes sort of a finished product, but showings of their work. The first is at the beginning of the residency when they're really have just arrived, and that's an opportunity for them to show their individual work and to kind of express what they do. And the second one is a workshop of a work in progress that usually brings in actually alumni. So we're workshopping alumni's work with the element of an audience exchange. So the audience will ask questions and critique and say, well, I liked when you kind of went down, it connoted sort of, being close to the ground, but I didn't understand this other part, and the dancer will kind of get that feedback right away. And that is just open to anybody. I mean, it doesn't have to be somebody who knows about dance. It can be anybody. It's really a language that speaks very directly. And as somebody who didn't watch a lot of contemporary dance before I started at OMI, that is one of the biggest misconceptions I've found, is that people just feel like, oh, I can't understand that. It's a different language I don't speak, but it's quite immediate.
But you do, in the end.
Yeah, we all do.
The passion or the movement or whatever, I think you're right. It absolutely speaks to us in a different language.
Yeah, and especially considering the international element, language is not, language that we speak is not needed.
It becomes irrelevant.
And then at the end, one of my favorite events is that they do a showing of their works that they've worked on in collaboration. And that always happens in the Field Sculpture Park. And so they'll use the sculptures as sort of backdrops or props or staging, or in the most interesting ways. They'll climb on them, they'll dance on them, through them. They'll lead people throughout the grounds. And that event draws hundreds of people sometimes.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I just would think that would be about the most magical thing you can see happening.
It is. And one of the things that is sort of terrifying / amazing about it is that we never know what they're going to do until like that week, because these are people who are just here working on things right up to the moment. So there's an element of spontaneity and performative sort of, happenstance that happens.
Total surprise.
Yeah. So that takes place. And then just moving on to the last program, the writers are also in residence for 2 sessions throughout the year, the spring and the fall, and they each choose a period of time from 2 weeks to a month or so, depending on their own schedules, to come and to focus on their writing. So that can be a really important time for a writer to finish a body of work, to translate another person's work. And we have a translation lab in the fall that a writer and a translator get to match up and work together. And occasionally, surprisingly, I didn't know this, but sometimes those people have never met each other.
Wow.
So they get the opportunity to connect on that.
Are there mentors there, or yes?
Yeah, so all of the directors of those programs are also professionals in their field.
In that field, okay.
So the person who directs the writer's residency, D.W. Gibson, is a published writer, formerly a book scout, very connected to the publishing world, and a really intelligent sort of facilitator. And same with the music and the dance programs. The dance director, Christopher Morgan, is a choreographer based in D.C., working dancer himself. And the musician's director is a master of the shakuhachi, which is a Japanese flute.
Wow.
And so they all bring so much talent to it. And the writers program as well brings in visitors, book agents and such.
Now, how do you get your word out? What if there are beyond people in our audience that suddenly can't wait to discover and get to this place to observe this art? What if there are also, and I imagine there are, folks who are hopeful artists themselves? How do they begin to apply for something like OMI?
Well, we have our applications open every year. Each date is different for each of the programs, but it's on our website, and anybody who has an internet connection can apply online.
So again, go to the website.
Yep, go to the website, which is www.omiartscenter.org.
Okay.
And we also have an email list.
And that will be at the end of our program.
We'll do that at the end. Yeah. But actually, the best way that we've found people knowing about it is by word of mouth, by the experiences of the residents who've already done the program.
I would imagine that these residences from all over the residents from all over the world that are coming here definitely go back and tell their
definitely
best friends, not necessarily their best competition, but their best friends, that this is an awesome opportunity and a wonderful place to be. That's
Absolutely.
exciting. Very exciting. Okay. So there's also a building there that's a relatively new building.
Yeah. We call it the Visitor Center. The full name is the Charles B. Benenson Visitor Center and Gallery. It's a LEED certified building, so that's one of the highest classifications of a green building.
Okay.
So it's very eco-friendly. And that's sort of one of the things that kind of we try to uphold is sustainability. So this building was erected, I believe, in 2008, and it has it sort of serves as both our offices, our visitor center to welcome people coming into the park. We have a cafe on weekends that serves sort of locally sourced farm-to-table lunches done by a local chef, and that menu rotates weekly. We host events there, artist talks, film screenings, and then there's also a indoor gallery space for work that can be outdoors.
Okay.
And that's actually going to be. We'd just taken down a show of Elizabeth Murray, who was an amazing painter who passed away a few years ago. Some of her large-scale paintings that were in this show had never been seen before because they were in private collections or had not been seen in a while. We're taking that show down and we're replacing it with a group show curated by Julie Ryan. That'll be both in the gallery and outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All over the outside or just outside of the building?
Sort of all throughout the sculpture park, mainly in the front, the area that we call the Cloverfield. But the show is opening on June 13th, and it's sort of it's called the Crayon Miscellany. And it's a group show including work by Donald Batchelor, who's an artist based in Spencertown, but very well known, and Mary Heilman, who has some of her sort of colored chairs actually at the New Whitney Museum.
So this is one of your big upcoming
events.
Of our biggest
now
we
events.
Really want folks to sit up and listen to this because this is a different event from coming to see the sculpture, which is most always there. This is an actual event.
This is an opening of a new show. So in inaugurating the park for the summer, we have one annual summer show, and we bring in about 10 to 12, it varies, new pieces that will stay on view throughout the summer and perhaps longer. And this is one of our biggest events of the year because we don't have, we don't rotate too many shows in and out, but once those are added, these are going to be on view, and it's an amazing collection of work, especially to have some of the artists who are really renowned to be showing upstate. It's truly world class.
Really wonderful.
Yeah.
Really wonderful.
Yeah.
We are growing by leaps and bounds upstate here, and people, I think, need to really catch up with the fact that we are having world-class people in a number of our arts areas
Absolutely.
that are being found here.
Absolutely. And I was just at the Jack Shainman the School opening for El Nanansui, which was an amazing scene. And between that, OMI, hopefully the Marina Abramovic Institute, Mass MoCA, it's interesting to see so many museum type of institutions opening in relatively rural places.
Programs, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So we're excited about
That's
that.
our good fortune.
Uh-huh.
So that's the first one that we want to mention in terms of events. And then
we also have, now that I've given you a little background about the Artists in Residence, that Open Studios weekend that happens in July 11th and 12th is at the culmination of their residency. It's actually a whole weekend long sort of party. We have dinner and dancing under the stars where we erect a tent up at the house that the residents stay in. And
now, is this for the public?
That is for the public. It's ticketed.
Right.
And then we have a brunch the next morning, and then that is also ticketed. But the open studios at 1 to 5 on Sunday, the 12th of July, those are open completely to the public.
And all of this information is on the website?
It is.
Okay. And
Yes.
so I'm guessing if they come to the residence, either the ticketed dinner or the or in the morning, there's an opportunity to meet some of these
definitely.
artists.
Yeah, and that's sort of the idea behind the event, is that we're celebrating their accomplishments, but we're also allowing the public to get a chance to meet them, talk to them about their work at a time when they're not, involved in working. Yeah.
Right.
And it's sort of also a little farewell to them too. It's right at the end, and
It must be a little bittersweet.
It is.
After you've gotten to know them, to have them go back.
Yeah, it
where
is.
they're-
And also they get very close to each other.
I'm sure.
And some strong relationships have formed throughout that.
All right, so that's another event that we want to be sure to get on our calendar. And is there more that we should know about?
There are. We have our full calendar is online, but not to go too much into all of them. The dance showing that I mentioned is on our calendar with the sculptures. That's
the
one
residents.
of the ones that I would really encourage people to check out, especially if you're new to contemporary dance. And then we are very intensive on the programming in the summer. We don't completely go dormant in the winter, but one of our final big events is in the fall, and it sort of is in conjunction with the solstice. It's on September 19th, and it's one of our most important upstate fundraisers to make all of this possible. But the different thing about it is that it's not a normal fundraiser. It's actually really
Nothing about OMI.
It's
OMI
not
seems normal.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. It's an arts event as well. It brings back alumni to do different installations, different performances, different dances, music and writing to the party. And so you're having a delicious dinner amongst your friends in the barn where all of this happens. And there might be a violinist playing while someone plays bubbles, or visual art on the walls that you can purchase if you like from our residents, or we're still working out the kinks of that, or a flash mob taking place.
Oh, my goodness.
Anything like that.
Will you come back and talk to us as
I
we get a little
will,
bit
yes.
closer?
Yes, I will,
Because I don't
because
want any of us to miss that. The last thing I'm going to ask you about, and I know we're just about out of time, but I don't want to forget the children, because
yes.
there's a wonderful program also for children.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. It's actually a great program. It's called Education OMI. And Education OMI provides arts-based education to children, but also adults. We have some partnerships with adults in Columbia County. And the nice thing about it is that they get an opportunity to experience art hands-on with sort of obviously the grounds of the park and the gallery being their classroom, but also in theory. So there's a lot of exploration and play, and also a lot of hands-on creation and understanding of art and art history.
In an atmosphere that's just ripe with amazing art all around it.
And so we have Saturday workshops for kids, and we also have a few summer camps for kids, teens. We have a new offering for Arts Lab. It's called Arts Lab. It's for young adults who want more of an elevated experience in terms of understanding art, and various programs for adults. And we also have tours.
So, oh my gosh, I can't thank you enough for being here today.
Thank you.
This
It's
is so
really fun.
amazing,
Yeah.
such a revelation, such a wonderful thing, and I look forward to you coming back to talk about some of the fall programming.
Great.
Do you not think that this was amazing? Did you actually really know that it was just down the road from us? And aren't you eager to get your walking shoes on and go to OMI and travel some of those beautiful Columbia County hillsides? I know that I am, and I hope that I get to see you there. We'll be back next time. Be well.